This episode of Q Point Podcast is pre-recorded, produced and sponsored by Corenna and Quirk, broker at Next Home Experience.
Different views.
I know your story.
From different cues.
Incredible job.
He's David Quirk.
You brought it up.
And she's Corenna Quirk.
Imagine.
This is
Q Point.
Now joining us in studio is MJ Ball, the driving force behind River City Athletics and the new Quirk Sports Complex in Hampden, Maine. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we appreciate you coming in today.
What's the origin story of the Quirk Sportsplex?
So, Fields for Kids, I started in 2009. Fields for Kids is the indoor sports facility over on Beale College campus. It's a 10,000 square foot indoor space. And we have just been so full and it's just limited space. So back then when I designed Fields for Kids, I was working with a club called Blackberry United. I was working at the University of Maine. We had started a club and it gotten so big that we were spending $30,000 a year at the Mahaney Dome in rentals. And we're like, there's got to be a better way for us to get our own space. And in real estate, you probably are very well aware that there's not a lot of A-frame, free-span buildings around. So we were very fortunate to meet Alan Steele, who at the time was the president of Beale College. And he said, hey, I have this old Saucony shoe factory in the back. Would you guys want to rent that? So what I did was I wrote a grant to U.S. Soccer Foundation, and they awarded us $100,000 for turf. So then we laid the turf and did all the renovations and everything. And then from 2009 to 2014, we just made improvements each year. And Blackberry United merged with Seacoast United, which was another club in the area. And River City began in 2014. So I became a part of that. I didn't start that, but I became a part of it. And they were our biggest renter. So it made sense for us to join forces and become one nonprofit. So we did that in 2017. We run all of our club rentals, everything out of Fields for Kids currently, and we also still rent the Mahaney Dome, which is ironic. Our growth is we're at 425 kids, and we have 25 teams, which you need a lot of space for them. And this area has always needed a bigger indoor space. There's not a complex in the entire state that has 3 turf fields. We go to tournaments all the time, and it's painstaking because you're like, we could be bringing this to our area, our region, our businesses. That's kind of where we started. So this project has been 5 years in the making. We started out over in Holden, and that did not work out. The town had some surprising requirements that they sprung on us 2.5 years into the process. We said, well, we can't do that. So we left. But again, in real estate, you'll be happy to know we just sold that land so we can end that chapter. And groundwork has already started in Hampden. And as soon as weather permits, we'll get our first field up, hopefully mid-March. And then the dome, hopefully by this time next year.
Yes, I remember when my mother called me because she lives in Hampden. And she said, is Quirk putting a dealership in Hampden?
Yeah, we get a lot of calls on that.
So what is the mission, the guiding philosophy behind River City Athletics and the Quirk Sportsplex project?
Well, River City Athletics was formed so that we could offer affordable options for young soccer players. I spoke briefly about Blackberry United and then it merging with Seacoast, and it got to the point where they were charging just way too much, so I didn't want to be a part of that. So I left, and Wayne Harvey, Dennis Mullins, Rick Robinson started River City Athletics. Obviously, they were renting from us. And then I am a big soccer guy, so they recruited me to be the director of coaching and start working with them. And youth soccer, like with anything, financials should never come into a reason why a child doesn't play. So we do a lot with sponsorships. And obviously, as a nonprofit, we get grants so that we can help families play. But then Fields for Kids, the reason Fields for Kids has been so successful is that we cater to organizations. So a baseball group comes in and says, hey, I want to rent some time. We rent the space, the batting cages, whatever they want. They run their program. They do whatever they need to, and then they leave. Then the next group comes in, and now it's a softball team or lacrosse or field hockey or whatever. So youth are always in there, and they're always playing and getting what they need. What I didn't realize when I first built it was that adults need a place to play as well. So basically from 4 to 7 every day, you have youth sports of whichever sport is playing in there. And then from 7 to 10 every night, we have women's field hockey leagues. We have women's soccer, men's over 30. We have the dodgeball league that Fusion Bangor uses, which is just really fun to watch.
I've been invited to that game a few times.
We had a team that we sponsored.
They take that so seriously. And there's actually been fights over a dodgeball, and it's crazy. But it's fun to watch because the whole premise of River City is we want to promote a healthy lifestyle. So we provide the space to do that. And now it's for youth and adults, and they get to have fun, and they don't really realize that they're working out. They're just playing the sport they love.
How many people are you serving at this space?
Weekly, we have 400 adults that come in for our leagues. And then we actually did this when we were looking at expanding, and we had some kids come in and do clickers like every time somebody came through the door. So Monday through Sunday, we have around 1,500 people that come through. Obviously, some train twice a week or they're doing 2 different sports or whatever, but we're about 1,900 a week, and that's in 10,000 square feet. So the dome that's being built is 80,000 square feet. And the reason why we're building it that big is because the need is there. Normally, when you start a project, there's naysayers and there's people like, what are you doing? Why would you do this? We have not had one person. Everyone's like, this is so needed. How can I get involved? Once it's built, I'm going to use it. We know we're on the right track. Now it's just about raising money and getting it done.
Let's face it, in the middle of winter, it'd be nice to get out of the house and go out and do some activity with some friends and a little bit of competition.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the phases of development?
Yeah. Right now we're in phase 1. So we broke ground. Sargent Corporation is our earthwork contractor, and they started mid-August, cleared just tons of space. And then as soon as winter ends, obviously they can start doing more. And the premier field is phase 1. Phase 1A is the concession stand, the bleachers, bathrooms, that kind of thing. And then phase 2 is the dome with parking. And then phase 3 is the second full field and then a third youth size field. And all 3 of those fields will be turf. And again, this will be the only complex in the entire state that has 3 outdoor turf fields and also an indoor facility with it. So it's going to be a regional showcase event for any sport that you want to play. So we can have softball tournaments, baseball tournaments, youth football, obviously soccer. And one of the things that we're really excited about is once the complex is done, we'll be able to host soccer tournaments and people will be coming here in droves. One of the questions I get is, how is parking? We've been to so many tournaments where parking is a disaster. So we actually planned to have 520 parking spots. And a lot of people are like, why would you do that? Well, have you ever been to a tournament? We don't want people parking on the road and things of that nature. So there's going to be ample parking, and we're just excited about the overall project.
What's the capacity for viewers?
Inside the dome, by code, we can have 300. So there's going to be an observation deck that is above the lobby, above the bathrooms and the concessions and the office space and the party rooms. And then there's also going to be bleachers in there for families to sit. And like with any sporting event, a lot of parents prefer to bring their own chairs and find a spot and sit. So inside the dome, there'll be 300 set seats. And then for outside, for the bleachers, it's going to be a 1,500 seat bleacher so that we can have high school football games and obviously soccer games and all that good stuff.
What's the timeline?
So the timeline, phase 1 is we're in phase 1 right now. And then phase 2 is as soon as phase 1's done. It shouldn't be too much earthwork between phase 1 and 2. And then basically it's just getting the dome set and ready to go. Obviously, there's stuff that goes under the ground and stuff that's not my expertise. I'm a soccer coach by trade. So I have learned a lot about code and everything, probably too much. And then phase 3 is basically the spring of 2027 with the goal of having those fields ready for April.
If phase 2 is completed, will you then be open, or do you need to wait for phase 3 before you fully open?
As soon as the outdoor turf is done for phase 1, we'll open and utilize that immediately. And the goal is to have it mid-March, April of this year. That way we can utilize it in the fall as well for high school and middle school sports. We actually have a high school that has pre-booked 400 hours. So we're obviously excited about that. And that shows the need is there. They don't have a home field, so they're going to utilize that. And then as soon as the dome is ready, we're hoping late October or November that it can be inflated and set so that we're ready for the winter months. So in a sense, we'll have a soft opening mid-March to April for the outdoor field. and then like November, December for the dome, and then the following spring for the other 2 fields.
Yeah, I know John Bapps always has a great soccer team, and obviously they had to go to Hudson University a lot to play their home games. So I know there's definitely a need for more soccer fields, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's actually the high school that pre-booked with us. We're excited about it.
The other thing is, I think the location where you're planning on going now is so much better because it's right off the interstate. A couple of gas stations right there. Plus, you get Dice Hearts for food before the game or after the game for parents. That's got to be ideal.
Yeah, and especially for teams that travel from the south, it's easy. It's exit 180, you turn right, boom, you're there. Yeah. And selfishly, I live in Hampden, so it's nice. I don't have to deal with Route 1A and all that. So it's almost a blessing that Holden didn't work out because it's just, I think the location is tremendously better. And ironically, back in 2004, there was a dome that was already there. I was living in Machias, and I was driving from Machias with my men's soccer team and women's soccer team to play in the Maine sports complex. And that was 20,000 square feet. So ours will be 4 times that size.
That's incredible. So for listeners that are maybe not familiar with Hampden, do you have an address?
Yep. It's 330 Colebrook Road. It is directly across the street from H.O. Bouchard. We bought the land from the Bouchard family, who were absolutely awesome in the process. And they're one of our naming right donors. So we're very appreciative that they would sell us that land. The best part about the land for me is there's already a road in. There's town water. It's town sewer. The utilities are already there. It was flat and open. So it's really just the ideal spot.
How about the town of Hampden and all the permits? How are you working on that?
We have everything. They have been absolutely awesome.
That's great.
And they're just looking forward to having it in. And I think obviously they realize the benefit not only to their own residents, but the amount of money that's going to be spent on those gas stations that are there. And then where Old Anglers is, Nate Freeman is building something, and he's hoping that like a drive-through type business will come in there, whether it's going to be food or what, but that would just make total sense.
You are listening to Q Point Podcast. I'm Corenna Quirk, co-hosting with my husband, David Quirk, and we are having a conversation with MJ Ball, coach and executive director of River City Athletics. So we talked about money. What is the cost estimated for this, and how much do you need to raise?
The total project is around $10 million. So to date, we've got about 3.4, and that is only with the phase 1 and a little bit of phase 2 naming rights that we've done. We haven't even touched phase 3 yet. We're trying to get all the money for phase 1 first, and then for phase 2, and then for phase 3. So it will be a gradual process. But what we've done is with the naming rights, companies or families can come in and say, I want to support the project in this way. So we do it where you can do a lump sum if you want to. You can do a 3-year, 5-year, or 10-year plan. And that way it's an affordable option for someone to get brand recognition on the fields or on signage and stuff like that. Advertising wise, it will help their budgets. Again, River City Athletics is about affordability, and we obviously want to make sure that it's affordable for businesses and families to get involved as well.
What's the best way if somebody does want to donate or be involved or volunteer with you?
The best way is to call me at 207-991-8940, or they can send me an email to mjball517@gmail.com. And me and my team will go in and meet with them and talk with them. And I like to find out what their interests are, what they'd like to see, what their return on investment looks like, because we want to partner with groups that are very similar to what our clientele is. I actually had to turn down $100,000 when we moved to Hampden, which I never thought I would ever do. But it was a cannabis company. They were like, I'll give you $100,000 right now. And I'm like, I am so sorry, but I cannot accept that because it just doesn't fit. So we want like-minded organizations and businesses to be with us. And we have a great list so far, and we're looking forward to continuing to build that.
So I'll just name some of the sponsors here now. Obviously, Quirk Family and Auto Group, Bouchard Family, which you've mentioned, First National Bank, Law Offices of Joe Bornstein, Down East Orthopedics, Nickelbeth Turf, Acadia Federal Credit Union, ABM Mechanical, Moody's Collision Repair, Twin City Tire, John Bapps Soccer Boosters, Nickerson O'Day, Haley Ward, and Sargent Corporation. They're assisting with your construction?
Yeah, so they're our team. Haley Ward has been awesome. Nickerson O'Day is top notch. And obviously Sargent is the best in the business.
And are they donating some of their time?
Haley Ward is, yeah. But Nickerson O'Day helped at the very beginning. they donated time and effort that would have been spent. Normally, you'd have to pay X amount of dollars to get the plans up and moving and stuff like that. So they really helped up front and didn't charge us anything for that.
So for phase 1 naming rights, what's still available?
Phase 1 naming rights that we still have available are the softball field. We have 2 of the aprons that are on the outside of the turf field. We have the bleacher sponsor, the bathroom sponsor, and then we have 1 goal sponsor that has been taken. So we have 3 left. And what that means is a company or a family would get a double sign on the back of each goal. So you'd have a soccer goal, a full-size goal, a 9v9 goal, a lacrosse goal, a field hockey goal. And then we also have scoreboard sponsors that are available. Moody's Collision is the title sponsor of the scoreboards, but then we have 3 that go underneath that are still available. And then for advertising signs, so we have 30 signs that are available that will go flush against the fence. And those are $5,000 per year, and we have 21 of those left. So we've sold 9 of those.
So for those that are participating, is there a cost for that part of it, or is this free?
No, there's definitely a cost, but it's an affordable rate. So the way that we do rentals, very similar at Fields for Kids, the more hours that you book, the better rate you get. But we'll make it so that it's available for a rental rate, typically is $75 an hour for the full field. But if you end up booking 400 plus hours, like the local high school, then their rate obviously drops significantly. I will tell you, we do financially support organizations that typically can't do things. At Fields for Kids now, we give time to the Special Olympics. We do a top soccer program for kids with physical and mental disabilities, and we'll continue that outside and at the Dome.
This is definitely a community service to help out just besides Hampden, Bangor, Brewer, Ellsworth, everywhere, right?
This project will affect 5 counties. So it'll be Penobscot, Piscataquis, Waldo, Washington, and Hancock. So all those areas that need space will now have it.
So somebody from Hancock or any other counties should be involved in maybe sponsoring.
100%.
Is there a website or somewhere that people can go so they can look at the photos of the plans?
Yes. So if you go to rivercitymaine.com, right on there, you'll see there's 2 buttons. One on the homepage says Quirk Sportsplex. Click right on it. And there's also a heading at the top. So River City, Maine is just rivercitymaine.com.
If somebody, like an individual, just wants to give $50 or $100, you would take that. How would they participate?
There are 3 ways for families and businesses to donate and support the project. One is obviously a naming right. Not everybody can be a naming right sponsor. Then we have the advertising. So we have different levels for advertising, both banners that are outside of the fields and also inside the dome. And then we have a donor wall. So families can get their name on the donor wall, and that's forever, so that they can say, I donated to this project. And again, there's varying levels from $1,000 all the way up to $60,000, depending on what level they'd like to do.
So long term, when you start having soccer tournaments, can you tell us about that and how important that is?
As a club, we go to probably 3 or 4 tournaments a year. And obviously each team pays to go there. And then when you're there, your hotels, your restaurants, you're buying stuff, you're going shopping, you're doing all those things. We want to bring that to this area. And the University of Maine did an economic study for us, and we're very thankful for them doing that. And the indirect and direct costs from a tournament and just the facility being up and running is going to bring between 3.4 and 4.2 million a year into this area. So everyone benefits. It's not just our kids and adults that are utilizing the space. Anyone within 30-mile radius is going to benefit from either getting a restaurant or a gas station. Hotels too. They're going to benefit from what we have going on.
There's a lot of people out there trying to raise money for different events or buildings. The YMCA is also out there trying to raise money. Is that affecting you at all?
Well, it's definitely affecting us because I think a lot of people have given to that. And so they're like, oh, now here's another project. What do we do? But our project serves organizations, whereas the Y serves individuals and families. So it's kind of 2 different things. So you can still obviously give to both. And we have had a couple of our naming rights sponsors that have done that because they see the value in investing in this, because this is not just a shot in the arm for us to have a project. This is to help combat childhood obesity, keep everyone active, promoting the healthy lifestyle for people in general, and then bringing in necessary dollars to the area. There are definitely ways for families and for businesses to help support this project.
You did bring a list of participating organizations. Now, these are organizations that currently use your facilities now, and they are looking forward to using the Sportsplex, is my understanding. So I'll just name a few of them. It's the Bangor Little League, Bangor High School Varsity Boys and Girls Soccer Teams, Bangor Soccer Club, Beale College Police Academy Program. Tell me about that.
They use it for fitness. So they come in and they run around, they do their push-ups. They have an actual program where they have to meet certain requirements. Obviously, it's a safe place for them to do it. So during the day, we let them in and they run around and do their thing.
Brewer High School Varsity Boys and Girls Soccer Teams. You've got Brewer Soccer Club, Hampden Academy Boys and Girls Soccer Team, Herman High Baseball Team, Boys and Girls Soccer Teams, John Bapps, as you've stated, Orrington Little League, Parkside Children's Learning Center.
Yeah, that's a fun one. So every Friday, they come in, and this is like their 4 and 5 year olds. They're in there and they're running around, and it's hilarious. So we set up activities for them. And what kind of goes full circle, because my kids went to Parkside and there was never a place for them to go when they were young. So when I built Fields for Kids, I was like, hey, just come over and run around so then they can nap, you know? And the teachers are like, yes, let's get them in there.
And the Homeschool Club.
Yeah, we have a group called Home Sport, and they come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and this is how they get their physical education requirements done. There's 50 to 100 of them that show up, and again, we rent the space, they run their program, and off they go.
How many employees do you have? Or is it a volunteer?
It's me.
Really?
Yeah, just me. And I have some part-time helpers so that I'm not there, obviously, all the time, but I'm typically there 60 to 80 hours a week.
So at the Quirk Sportsplex, what is the plan there?
That's one of the really nice things about the Quirk Sportsplex is that we're going to go from basically me, and I have like 4 to 6 part-time employees. We're going to go to 2 to 3 full-time employees, and then probably 30 part-time employees. Because you need, when people are coming in, we're not running the programs on the actual turf, but they need to know where to go. We'll have the concessions, we'll have party rooms. We need staff that can be there, plus janitorial staff, everything.
Once this is up and running with that 80,000 square feet building, you probably have a lot of mixed use inside this.
Yes and no. For Maine fire code, it has to be sports related. So we can't have like a car show. One of the things I was really excited about is obviously Quirk is supporting this. We'll have a car show, but we're not allowed per code. So as long as it's sports related, then you can do it. So we can have indoor golf. People can be hitting into targets and stuff like that during the day. And then the field can be divided into 4. So you can have a field hockey group on one side, a soccer group, a birthday party, and then something else going on in that 4th quadrant. Pickleball might be hard to play on turf, but you could do like indoor grass, like an indoor Wimbledon kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, so it's disappointing with the fire code that it limits us, because we really thought we'd be able to have like a craft show that I think would obviously benefit the entire community and just a great space for it. We'll keep looking and keep negotiating with them. And there might be a waiver that we can do like 1 a year or something like that. But we want to follow the fire code. The last thing we want is any issues.
So we all know that you've coached a lot of players. Tell us some of your success stories that you've had with some of the players that you've coached.
I guess from a coaching standpoint, I've been in the game a long time, because I'm now at the point where Shelby Pickering Bradford was just named to the Maine Soccer Hall of Fame. She's in the Husson Hall of Fame for soccer as well. I coached her when she was 12. I'm now coaching her kids, so it's like, oh my gosh. But she is one of the most successful players that we've had. And then Claire Peterson went to Jacksonville State University, played 4 years there. We've had some other Division I athletes. We have Natalie Tardy, who's going Division I this year. She's going to a school in New Jersey. So anytime you can see your players excel and get rewarded for the hard work they've done, it's really nice. On the boys' side, we've had players that are Division I, 2, and 3 all the way through. We're still waiting for that one professional player to make it through, but the way I see it is I played in college. I loved playing. And if we can get those kids that opportunity to do it, I think that's the way to go.
Before we let you go, what would you like the listeners to know about the Quirk Sportsplex, which will be opening later this year?
The biggest thing that I'd like to pass on to any of the listeners is we are not done fundraising. A lot of people think, oh, this is coming, they've broken ground, they must have all their money. That is certainly not the case. That's why it's a phased project. The more money that we raise, the less we have to borrow. Nobody likes to borrow money, but First National Bank is our bank, and they've been very good to us. So for the people that are out there, you can help support the project either as a naming right, with a donation, join the donor wall, be an advertiser, reach out to people that you know that might want to support this project. We know why we're building the project. We know the need is there, but we need help from the community. A lot of people just think the project, they must have everything, so they don't need our help now, and that's certainly not the case.
And remind listeners, what's the best way to reach out? Is it the website or is it to you directly?
To me directly. If they want to find information about the project, they can visit rivercitymaine.com. But to reach out to me personally, 207-991-8940 or mjball517@gmail.com is the best way. And then I can, again, set up meetings with them and present options that they have so that they can get involved in the project.
MJ Ball, coach and executive director of River City Athletics. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all the information. You've been listening to Q Point.
Follow us at qpointpodcast.com or on your favorite streaming app.
This is where you can get the news from the people who make the news.
Make sure to join us next time.
We hope you tune in.
Q Point Podcast invites guests and candidates from all parties to join the conversation. The views, information, opinions, and comments expressed during this program do not necessarily represent those of the host, Q Point Podcast, associates, affiliates, and CQRE LLC.
Thanks for being a part of the conversation. Catch every episode at qpointpodcast.com or wherever you stream. Tune in and tell your friends.